So I grew up in Bonnier, Georgia, which is a little ways down the road. That's where I still live. I was the oldest of 7 children, still am, and I was considered the weird one. My mother has actually said in front of her, yes, in front of me, yes, she's weird, but we love her anyway. So in 1988, I discovered High Street Unitarian Church here in Macon, and there were people there that liked me like I am. They didn't tolerate me, they loved me, and it changed my life. A few years later, they gave me a huge gift that changed my life even more. They sent me to leadership school, where I learned what my gifts are and how to be a leader. And as a result of that, the two things that came out of that, there was a lot more, but 2 main things that relate to this story. I started giving sermons at church. I started doing public speaking, and I became an ordained pagan minister. I was called to be a minister for a small group, and I agreed, and I wanted to get ordained so I could perform weddings and funerals for people. That went great, and part of my sermons, after a few years, I teamed up with some ladies in the congregation that are from Mexico, and we did bilingual Day of the Dead services. Mexicans, throughout Mexico, I think people celebrate Day of the Dead, which is somewhere between October 31st and November 2nd. Some people believe that the spirits of the dead come back to visit their families during that time. And they go to the cemetery, they have big parties at the cemetery, they take food to share with their family members, with their loved ones who have already crossed over. They have music and parties and dancing. They take flowers and candles that they put on the graves. And they really welcome back their loved ones who had crossed over. And after a couple of years, the Mexican ladies moved on to, I don't know if they went to another church or just quit coming to ours, but I continued the Day of the Dead tradition. And that's why I call myself the Death Maven, because I did that for 13 to 15 years. I did a program every year, sometimes about the history of the Day of the Dead, sometimes about death, causes of death. Some of them were hilarious, and some of them were very serious and very tragic. About 2005, I was blessed to participate in a Lakota-style vision quest in East Central Alabama. I sat out in the woods by myself for 3 days. Traditionally, it's done without water or food. I told them that I was too old, my kidneys were too old not to have water for 3 days. So I did drink, but I didn't eat. During the time I was sitting out there, probably late on the 2nd day or early on the 3rd day, this beautiful little butterfly fell out of the sky dead at my feet. And I just felt inspired to build a cairn, a rock grave for this little butterfly. It's probably the fanciest butterfly grave that was ever made. And from that, I felt like my vision and what I got from that quest, I did have a vision separately. I saw God, but that's not the story tonight. But this, I felt like this was leading me to do something more relating to death. I decided that what I wanted to do, and I had already been contemplating it, but I decided to really pursue opening a natural cemetery. And I found a business partner, and we bought land here in Bibb County. If you've been around for a long time, you might have heard about it. It was unbelievably controversial, putting dead people in the ground without concrete or chemicals, like has been done for 10,000 years. But we don't do it that way anymore, and we're not going to do it that way. And the Bibb County Commission ended up passing a law against us and blocking that. And the reason that that is important to this story is because in preparing for that profession, one of the things I did was attend a home death care workshop. Am I holding this wrong?
No, I don't know what's happening.
Okay. So I attended a workshop on home death care, and that is a thing. The woman who led it had lost her 8-year-old daughter in a car accident when the airbag deployed. That was before we understood how traumatic airbags could be to children. And that's why now we put our children in the back seat if we have airbags. So, oh, I'm sorry, let me go back before that. Not long before I went to that was the great tragedy of my life. My 25-year-old son died. And the events surrounding that were just amazing. I'm sure he killed himself. And there were several family members who felt that we were visited by him. My mother said, I know y'all think I'm crazy, but I hear Josh talking to me when I'm riding in the car. He's complaining about my driving. And yes, Mama, we do think you're crazy, but we do believe that Josh is in the car with you, bitching at you about your driving. My niece, who shared Josh's birthday, was the first one. She was the one who actually found his body. She broke into his room. She was very traumatized by it. And Josh came to her in a dream, and she said that he was behind a door and she was trying to get in, and he said, you know you can't come in here yet. And he talked to her and gave her many words of love and comfort, and she was very much appeased by that. This same thing to me, I heard about it. He came to me in dreams, and I talked to somebody, one of my friends, who told me to call a woman who was a spiritualist. Spiritualists believe that the dead can and do talk to us from the other side. So she told me some things that were very detailed and very explicit. He was still bossing me around, and I believe that I did hear from him through her and through messages directly to me. And overall, it was messages of love. And I have talked to other people who have lost a loved one. I have talked to other loved ones who have been lost, who have died and who have passed over to the other side. And overwhelmingly, the messages are messages of love. I don't know, I do believe that our souls survive after death. I don't know the details of that. I don't know the mechanism or the rules for all that. But I do believe that our spirits survive the death of our bodies. And I believe in love.
Oh.
Yay.